Okay, nice. Hi everyone, welcome to National Partnership Development Consultancy Space. So I think earlier on we have just done with BD, and then right now we'll be doing for National Partnership Development. So maybe some of the things you might find it similar, yes, because in this term it's basically a combined function. So there will definitely be a lot in terms of like strategy that is the same. But without further ado, let me also introduce myself a little bit. So I'm Celine and the current MCVP, NPD, and BD for term 22-23. So basically what does this stand for is basically I'm managing both national and local partnerships at the same time in this term. So in the past, I have been FL for almost 2 years. Yeah, 2 years plus. And then after that, before that, I was also IGV for a very short period of time. And then I was also ISP for GV back then. So eventually, I think for today, we'll talk a lot more about like NPD in detail. So first of all, definitely the purpose of NPD and the contribution, eventually going into the history and growth path of national sales, and then going into detail what has this term done, the focus and also the non-achievements. And then before going into Q&A, we'll also have the upcoming term proposed directions after this term. So eventually, as all, why national partnership development itself in terms of the unique contribution, simply saying is to relate back to our AIESEC midterm direction globally. So at 2025, basically focusing on 3 main focuses. First one, empowering youth leaders. Second one, building a long-lasting AIESEC. Third one, developing purposeful partnerships. So going into a bit more detail one by one. So why NPD is very important towards AIESEC in Malaysia, I would say the first thing is about empowering youth leaders. So AIESEC in Malaysia has like 14 local chapters and expansion units up to current stage. And that is the reason why national partner actually plays a very huge influence and support system to actually drive external relevancy and to build external driven youth leaders. So a lot of the times we wanted to really know how the way that we are building our youth leadership is actually aligned with what the current demand of maybe the external workplace are looking for, or what is the corporate insights coming from our corporate partners that are able to give us. So there is a lot about building empowering youth leaders. Another one is on building a long-lasting AIESEC. So this part is basically towards the sustainability as an entity, or even eventually towards our product. So our partners also is one of the main key resources that we have to grow our product sustainably and also make it more accessible to youth. As AIESEC, our mission and vision stands to actually engage with all the youth in the world. So we actually want to make sure that our product is able to grow sustainably and then make it more accessible towards youth in the future. So more youth is able to join the AIESEC movement. So eventually, our partners have not only support us financially, but also strategically, such as providing workshops that they are good at or they are specialized in. And also we have experts coming from different kind of corporate backgrounds that actually share us a lot of like their personal experience as corporate leaders, or even like in terms of like corporate insights. So eventually developing purposeful partnerships, a lot of the time is coming into the value aligned partnerships that we wish to contribute to AIESEC in Malaysia, or even AIESEC as a whole, is when our partners become the enablers that co-create leadership opportunities for youth together with us. So like what I mentioned in the empowering youth leaders focus, actually partners are our support system to build external driven and relevant youth leaders. So how we actually do that is by co-creating leadership opportunities. Take for example, the different touch points that we enable partners to come in to share keynotes or even have engagement with them, with the youth, and then eventually also more towards co-creating what kind of like internship opportunities that we are able to provide to the youth leaders. So that is basically overall the unique contribution of national sales and also the national partnerships. Going a bit more detail on the NPD history and growth path. So I would say basically for history and growth path, it can go very, very detailed. But I think today I will just focus more on the significant learnings and events that have happened in the past few terms. So first part is going into between term 15 to term 2017 itself. So I think in this 2 term itself is also one of like the golden peaks of national partnerships, where there was exponential growth in national partnerships. We are able to position ourselves as a youth organization with very quality membership touchpoint and also youth network. So that is actually the signature product that we have when it comes to partnership engagement. So a lot on employer branding initiatives that we have done with the following partners that is stated at the bottom of the slides as well in the respective terms. So I would say eventually the focus of the particular national partnerships in these 2 terms is actually on, take for example, ambassador program, digital campaign, and also National Youth Speak Forum itself. So basically we have managed to achieve more than 90K in these 2 terms. However, with the exponential growth also comes with the concern of a reputational risk as a not-for-profit organization. Sook Ling is here. Okay, then let me share my screen. Hi, Sook Ling. Yeah, we have just kind of go into what have happened in the past for national partnership. So yeah, I think coming back into here, I would say the main learning when it comes to exponential growth in NPD basically is also on the sorry, I forgot to unmute. Yeah, it's also more towards like the exponential growth that comes with also the reputational risk as MPO, when people start to also question, no matter it's internal membership or even external, is why do we need that much of a money from companies if we are only running our products in the past. So I would say, you know, back then in like 7 to 8 years ago, 100K is actually a lot when it comes to an NPO is actually working on basic operation. So eventually, because of that, on how much partnerships we have closed, sometimes we overpromise. So there isn't any quality partnership management that is able to we focus on, that also put us with the outcome that there isn't any of like the re-raise coming from the past partners due to the partnership experience that we are not able to get. So eventually, a lot of the time after we have this question in our mind, our focus slowly shifted from employer branding initiative to more on how partnership is able to support our product growth. So eventually itself is more towards these 2 terms actually let us know the alignment of BD is actually important towards our product as well, rather than selling things for the sake of the sales one and the money. So we need to take note on the mindset when it comes to selling partnership as an MPO. So after year 2017, it comes to until year 2019. So in these 2 terms is also the term that we started to shift our focus from national partnership development towards BD. So we focus a lot more on how we're going to sell GV portfolio, take for example, OGV ambassador program, and also digital marketing that's more towards OGV side instead of only driving like employer branding initiative. So we want to drive a lot more growth in GV performance because this is also the 2 terms that the MC team nationally we want to drive double growth in GV. So at the same time, if you actually read back towards the BD consultancy space, I also mentioned that this is also the term that we started to have local sales team being established. So basically with that being said, MC decided to scale down on the NPD operation and focus more towards BD in terms of network management. So eventually, sales started to play more on a supporting role instead of playing the spotlight as being the main financial contributor of the entire entity itself. So you can actually see the sales one drastically drop when it comes to before and also after. Mainly is because in these 2 terms, we start to focus more on in-kind. Take for example, for Asia, we got like over like 50 plus flights to allow our GV volunteers to go abroad instead of getting financial sponsorships. So this is actually the things that we managed to achieve in the past as well. And then coming by is also the peak of COVID. So term 1920 is the time where COVID hits. And because of COVID, we started to really realize the importance of B2B and also started to be more conscious towards like, is it really reputational risk is something that cannot be mitigated and only can be avoided. So eventually we started to be more proactive in terms of getting more partnerships, like quality and value aligned partners, more consciously as well when there is a big shift in the sales focus, because sales is no longer playing the supporting role due to COVID, and then we cannot run GV and all those things. That is the time we started to rebuild back the foundation of national partnership. So eventually, because of the sudden halt of global volunteer, partnership portfolio innovation such as bite-sized leadership, virtual employer branding initiative becomes also the main focus on how do we want to keep this entity sustainable. So eventually, I would say we have created a lot of like the new products such as bite-sized leadership, virtual conferences, touch points with our partners, and we managed to also started to grow our sales one in term 19 to term 2021. So that is basically the idea of these two terms, and eventually coming over here, which is also on last year and this year. So I would say the main learning in this two term itself is a lot on the growth of national partnerships after the foundation have been rebuilt back in the past 3 terms. So we catch back on the trend of employer branding, starting to shift from virtual to hybrid to physical, and eventually employer branding initiatives become our key focus as NPD as well. So we started to have more MC to LC strong collaboration, and eventually we are able to hit double growth of NPD. So in term 21-22 is also the peak that we started to have more new partnerships, and then in my term, which is term 22-23, is focusing more on partnership re-raising and long-term partnership. So in my term, this past winter, we managed to re-raise over 5 partners, and eventually the outcome is more towards the partnership career opportunity and also more towards partnership retainment. Yeah, so eventually that is just a bit of like the evolution of how national partnership has been growing and also facing ups and downs in the past, I would say close to like 8 years ago until now. So coming by, I think here is just overallly like a big picture of how has been the portfolio evaluation like. So if you still recall back, 15-16 to 16-17 is the peak where we focuses a lot in terms of employer branding, a lot of big sales coming in, a lot of big partnerships. However, we didn't manage to really manage the partnership expectation and deliverables well. And 17-18 to 18-19 is the peak where we focus back on GV, want to drive double growth, and that's the reason why we focus more on OGV campaign and also national YSF. So eventually coming back to 19-20 and 2021 is the COVID peak where we focus on virtual engagement, digital engagement, such as conference is also virtually being run, and that is the time where we start to grow back our national partnership. And 21, 22 to 22, 23 is the peak of coming back to our national partnership, where we start to focus more on like virtual to physical engagement, partners co-creation program, and also digital campaign itself. More on employer branding coming back over here. So eventually, I think here is just also the main partnership portfolio that national side is selling. First one is definitely still employer branding. Second one is on digital marketing, and also global talent for IGTA side. Corporate social responsibility is CSR, which nationally is also something that we are trying to drive back in my term as well when it comes to like BD projects. So that is just a bit on the national partnership portfolios itself. And then coming by, I think I would just wish to also talk more about specifically what have we been doing in this term. So eventually, I think for this itself, I will kickstart with also the winter focuses first. So I think something to take note is because in this term, particularly, NPD and BD is actually a merge function under me. So a lot of the strategies is actually a combination of how I'm going to manage the local functions, BD side and also national NPD side. So first strategy is I love partnerships, where it focuses a lot on how at the same time I want to build the competency of AM Salesforce, but at the same time I want to also make sure that we are able as an entity to drive sales and portfolio customization that caters to both youth and partners' needs. Eventually, with the main MOS of hitting the local and national B2B revenue goal. So I would say in order to achieve this, actually the tactics that we have been doing is also on BD cluster management and also sales summit and functional visit. So it's more towards the network management part of BD, which if you wish to know more what is currently being done, it can be found in also the BD consultancy space recording. So on top of that, we also focus more on the proposal and portfolio refreshment, and also how are we going to do attraction based on that. So coming by 5-star deliverables management, as we have seen from the past learnings, deliverables management is still a very important thing when it comes to we want to build long-term relationship and manage the expectations with our partners. So it's a lot on, at the same time, we want to upscale our partnership deliverables. We have a clearly defined resources management towards each of the partners, so we don't overpromise anything. So the key MOS is NPS 9.5, where it will indirectly reflect on also the willingness of our partners to being re-raised or re-engaged back. So we focus a lot on deliverables customization, partner appreciation as an add-on value or add-on services, and then also MC to LC cross-selling model to make sure that the resource management is at the most efficient stage where we're able to hit the deliverables management without putting in a very high effort to do so. So lastly is on AM55 leadership campaign. So it's more towards the co-creation of youth consultancy report, which is more towards a B2B report that we will be usually sharing with partners. And then also to recognize AIESEC as a credible leadership development platform through the youth experience and partnership showcasing. So eventually, this is also one of like the main B2B marketing initiatives that I wish to do in the past winter. However, it was not being done mainly is also because the fact that I didn't really manage to secure enough EST to do so. So eventually it's kind of like a drop focuses in the past winter. So but ideally what this strategy would like to achieve is definitely on managing the B2B such as LinkedIn, the kind of platform well, B2B social media engagement itself. So we focus a lot on membership showcasing and partnership showcasing in winter as a BAU, but AM55 brand localization and youth consultancy report is something that is an EBI that we didn't manage to achieve it. So however, just to also showcase a little bit on the winter achievement and non-achievements, these are the winter national partnerships that we successfully secured. And the B2B revenues is also the amount with the GVA stated very clearly in terms of local sales achievement and national sales achievement. So with the initiative, it's basically based on the 3 focuses of the strategies that I previously said, where we still managed to achieve re-raise partnership and also 3 summer partnerships secured, where at the same time, however, for the organizational credibility building is an EBI because of the lack of focus. So there is a drop in terms of LinkedIn engagement and page views, and also the incompleteness of the youth consultancy report that we are able to showcase to our partners. So I would say that it's basically the winter achievement and non-achievement as a whole. And coming back to summer focuses, these are also the summer direction that currently is in progress. So some of the tactics are still in progress actually. So with the sustainable partnership management, a lot is on driving partnership growth by upscaling the current sales portfolio framework and pricing. So that is how we want to drive the growth itself through the framework, upscaling, and also the pricing management in a more strategic manner, where we focus a lot on like national strategic partners engagement to build our members, to build quality youth. At the same time, we have national portfolio refreshment and partnership growth path management for both LC and MC, and then local ready-made proposal framework for LCs. Those have a lacking of like sales foundation to kickstart their sales operation faster. And eventually, credibility management is also something that is a bring forward initiative from past winter, and we still wish to create a visible AIESEC brand with our partners through leadership content showcasing and also partnership showcasing through digital campaigns. So with that, that is on the credibility that slowly want to build up the brand of AIESEC no matter B2B or even B2C side. So lastly is on AM Sales Superheroes. This is actually more catered towards BD side, where we want to build empowering sales team. And in the long run, we want to make sure there is a continuous pipeline coming from local sales team to national sales teams as well. So we want to strive to achieve this term sales won, which contribute to 30% growth as well, and also the number of advance by integrating problem-based L&D during the sales mastering process when we are onboarding the new term of LCVP BD. So these are the few things that we have managed to do so and innovate on our network management. So eventually, I think coming by here is just also a bit of details in terms of like the current national team structure that we have for both national BD and NPD. So I'm actually the ones that currently managing the entire national team, where Natalie, Susmita, and Eugene will be solely managing on BD network, which is all the LCVPs and the national touch points with commission. And then from my end, I will actually focusing more on like the national new sales and also the current partnership and accounts management. So this is basically how it is being done with the national HR structure for driving sustainable partnerships. So eventually, coming by with that, we definitely wish to build sustainable growth for our partners and also for NPD and BD. So what about term 23-24? Here are just some of the things that definitely we can work on for NPD side. For first one, definitely is on long-term partnership management. So I would say this one is more on like, if you see currently we have like in a peak about 10 partners being engaged, it actually needs a lot of manpower and effort to actually manage the accounts well. So in order to at the same time drive growth in sales and at the same time manage the partnership expectation well, actually long-term partnership would be a much more lesser effort but also high impact way of dealing with partnership impact. So it comes with the package portfolios. Let's say, take for example, selling a few national touchpoints at once to one partner will be something that would be highly encouraged to do so. So second one is on customer relation management. So I think this is on CRM where both youth and also partner side. So I would say the CRM system establishment for email marketing is something to look into as a proposed direction for next term, because something we realize in this term when doing digital engagement is that email marketing tends to have a higher conversion, especially when there is a quality CRM system. Take for example, the targeted pool of youth that we can actually blast our email to. So I think that is very important. Take for example, alumni and membership database creation, because those are the things that we have in value as a youth organization. So third one is on national portfolio innovation, which is quite similar to the first point as well, but more towards, take for example, if we are going to secure more partners, then we can definitely look more into like partners tiering system to encourage more partners to go for long-term partnership itself. So other than that is also on how we want to incorporate partners growth path together with the current portfolio that we have. Take for example, conference portfolio, partnership co-creation portfolio, etc. And then lastly, how do we want to drive the strategy of upscaling and cross-selling between MC and LC together to drive more larger scale of partnership impact? And then lastly, I think it's just more towards the sales team pipeline nurturing. So I would say in this term actually is also the first term that we started to have such a big team for national sales. In the past, we usually only have about 2 to 3 people. So I would say this is still something that we need to consistently work on. Take for example, will there be a clear LC to MC sales team growth path, a EB to MPD growth path, etc., to make sure that there is a stable sales team pipeline that is able to manage both local and also national sales. So that would be more on the proposed direction. And eventually here is just some of the NPD key learnings that I managed to get when managing NPD as well. So I basically split into 3 parts: organizational, functional, and personal. So organizational definitely is to really understand how corporate or even external actually sees the value of AIESEC in Malaysia. And then, or even AIESEC when we are driving leadership youth leadership itself. And eventually functional will be more on like industries understanding, stakeholders management, B2B sales engagement skills, and then personal will be more towards like personal branding and future connection. So I would say personally, actually, I am more connected towards like future connection, because that is really something that I see myself doing consistently when engaging with partners, because partnership is never just about work, because it's all about the relationship that we are trying to build for a long term between the particular company that is value aligned with AIESEC as well. So that is basically the part of NPD key learnings. And eventually I think yeah, we can just maybe have a quick Q&A. But while I think right now there isn't any questions yet, so I will just directly go into like the yeah, I think this is just a bit of contact me details. If you want to know a bit more details or any further questions to ask me, I will be very active on Telegram, so can directly text me there. And eventually here are just some of the resources that I can share in terms of national partners folder. If you want to see how we usually do portfolio, what kind of partners we have in the past, then here is the past 3 terms folder. We also have national growth path that can be seen over here. The current NPD master tool, which involve all the upcoming ongoing like sales or even like the partnership deliverables that we are managing, and also the template for the draft of like the national proposal that usually we'll propose to our partners. So yeah, I think maybe I can just go on if there's any Q&A coming from the floor. Yeah, if no, it's also never mind. I will share the tab of the Q&A sheet here. Yeah. So Link, do you have any questions so far regarding NPD?
Hello, I just joined halfway,
Can.
so nothing much, huh?
Okay.
Yeah.
Can. Hopefully it's clear for you as well. I think it will be good that you can actually get to know a little bit about how national team we kind of innovate our portfolio through years, and that is basically like shows a very significant results when it comes to growth. So hopefully it can be bring back to your LCs, and hopefully can also help to achieve the LC partnership growth lah. Okay, so I think if there is no question so far, then I will just also sum up this space. Definitely still open for any questions if there's any more. But yeah, I think overall that would be all for this particular consultancy space for NPD. And then good luck for those that will be applying for MC, and then looking forward for your application as well. So I will just stop the recording here.